Hi, I'm Brendon Weaver, and I volunteer for J-Force, and I go to the youth, and I'm interviewing Pastor Richard. So, how long have you been a pastor?
It's been going on 21 years as of right now.
What led you to being a pastor?
I had a couple of other careers before, which I think all of them helped me to finally be called to be a pastor. I was a journalism major in college. I worked for newspapers, weekly and daily newspapers, and then I decided to go back and get a master's degree in public relations, and then as we started moving around to different churches, my wife grew up Catholic and I grew up General Baptist. And so we went and worshiped in a lot of churches until we found a home in the United Methodist Church. And so after being there and getting involved and helping the church as your mother does and as many other people do as laity, and so it eventually I felt the call of God, and to be honest, I didn't want to come. I fought it for almost a year. But I've never looked back after that. It has worked out better than I can ever imagine, and I just thank God for giving us the opportunity to be a couple who comes to churches and to be one of the people there who try to help others.
Can you share a story of your salvation?
I can, and it's something I have remembered until this day. I grew up, as I said, in a General Baptist church, and we would have church every Sunday morning, Sunday evening, and sometimes midweek. And I'd been in the church for what seemed like forever. I think I was about 11 years old or 10 years old. And anyway, one night, the pastor, I was real good friends with the pastor's son, and we would always sit on the back row. And if we ever got in trouble, if somebody was too loud, his dad would sometimes, the pastor would point back there and he would do this, and his son would have to do that walk of shame in front of everybody. And so one night, though, my dad thought it was me. And my dad did the little thing with his finger going here, and he always sat on the front row. No one sat within 2 or 3 rows of him. He was up there all by himself. And he had me come and sit by him. And as I was sitting there, I don't remember how many people went up to the altar, but as I was sitting there, and they were asking people if they wanted to come and had anything to pray for or things that were going on in their life, and next thing I know, tears started streaming down my face, and I went over and kneeled at that altar. And I said, God, I don't know what I haven't been doing. If I've been here in church every Sunday, as you know. Every time the doors are open, we even helped back then. You helped clean the church. Every family took time to help do that. And the next thing I know, I had accepted Jesus into my life personally. And so it didn't seem like much had changed, but we still kept going to church every Sunday, but it made a difference in my life, and I was thankful for that. I thought if I wouldn't wanted to just sit there in the pews and never accept it on my own, and I think that's what my dad wanted me to see, that me to accept it on my own, not just be there because they were making me come there. So
That's amazing. How did you meet your wife?
I met her at Southeast Missouri State University. She was that's in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, if you know anything about that. By the river.
Lake,
yeah, by the river there. You guys have lakes here. They have the Mississippi River there.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's okay. She was from St. Louis. She grew up in the Catholic religion, and here I was, a Baptist boy from a little small town. Here she's from a big town in St. Louis. I'm from a little small town south of Cape Girardeau, and we just met. My roommate really brought us together. He kept saying she is the sweetest girl in the world. You should get her. You should get her to go out with you and stuff. And I thought, what if she didn't want to go out with me? I was kind of shy, like a lot of boys can be back then. And so anyway, but we have been married 35 years this year. And she, like I said, grew up Catholic, but she, like me, I changed from Baptist. We kind of split the difference between Catholic and Baptist, and we found a home in the United Methodist Church. Never imagined that I would become a pastor. You're going to ask me about that later, but I'm just saying that she has been just a wonderful life partner.
Well, you gotta thank your best friend for that, right?
Yes, I do.
So, how many children do you have, and what is one of your favorite memory of each?
Well, we have 2 children. Our daughter Abby lives in St. Louis, works with companies there, and does a lot of wonderful things to help them to get their products out and other things. And Sam is our youngest child, and he is here, goes to church with us here, and loves to volunteer and help any way he can. I've heard pastors' kids over the years that feel like they didn't get to have a lot of fun because they always had to do something for the church. But my kids have both embraced the church even before I became a pastor, and that's always made me feel good.
Yeah, that's really good. What was the most challenging part of your job?
I would first say preaching, but to be honest, that after 20-something years of doing this, that's not the hardest part anymore. I taught as a college professor for a number of years, so getting up in front of people talking was not a big issue for me, and so some of that preaching reminds me of preparing lectures for college students. But the thing that is the thing that worries me at times, or I feel I always pray to God about everything, but I pray to God especially when somebody loses a loved one. And it especially how to be there for them in the midst of that. How to, I tell them it's okay to cry, it's okay to be mad at God and other things, but it's gut-wrenching for me as I watch them because I haven't had to go through that yet. I haven't lost a spouse yet after 35 years, and I don't want to ever lose her. I'd rather go first than to let her go, because she is just an important, so important in my life and in our children's lives. Even to this day, our daughter calls my wife and all the time and says, "This happened today." She doesn't call her dad anymore. She used to come to me, my daughter did, but now she goes to my wife. And Aaron always has a good advice to give, and so I just can't imagine, especially someone you've lived a long time with and been married, I had 35 years, but there are people who put us to shame, been married 50, 60 years, and I just can't imagine being around the person you love so much in your life and not to be able to be there with them anymore.
I'd say that'd be the hardest part for as well. What's your favorite thing about your job?
I'm a people person. I like people. I like to shake their hands. I like to give them hugs, especially older adults who've lost a spouse and they miss that in their lives. And this pandemic has screwed everything up. I mean, you can't shake people's hands anymore. You can't be giving them hugs. We're afraid what that might do. And so I know it's got to be hard on them too, not to have maybe people who can give them hugs and shake their hands as well. And it's the older people who always reach out and want to shake my hands in the 5 weeks I've been here. And I just put my hands together like this and I say, we just can't do that now. And sometimes it's someone, even who they've forgotten that, and as they get older, and so their spouse has said, no, remember, the pastor can't do that. We can't shake hands. But I just really feel for people like that, because you just want somebody to reach out and touch you. I preached a sermon here I think it was a week ago here. I preached about that Christians leaving fingerprints. And I think that's important for us as God's people to leave fingerprints, if not physical fingerprints, leave fingerprints in their lives where somebody's touched their life and helped them through their lives.
So, different question now is, what is your favorite sport?
I like the St. Louis Cardinals and baseball. I had the privilege of being there for the last 3 years and getting to not be too far away. I could just jump in my car and drive about 15 minutes and I could be at the stadium. I love baseball. We watch it. Now we're glad it's back on TV and we watch it every night. So I'd say baseball.
That's good.
I even preached a sermon one time called God and Baseball. People couldn't wait to hear what I was going to say about that.
Yeah. Well, if you have Netflix, there's a lot of great baseball movies on it that's about God and how it affected people's life.
Yeah, you're right.
What's your favorite food?
I have two. I grew up in the South, so I love fried chicken, and I also like spaghetti. My mom made the best spaghetti there ever was in my mind, and I just love spaghetti. So
I like spaghetti.
If we could mix fried chicken and spaghetti together one night, but she never let me have them both together. So.
What is your number one goal for our church?
Our most faithful people are older people.
Yeah.
And we don't have as many young people as we once did. Any church.
Yeah.
And so I just feel I just feel for, as I've talked to older adults before, they're like, my grandchildren doesn't go to church, our kids doesn't go to church, and it grieves them.
Yeah.
And I want to reach out to younger people and younger couples. I want to see if we could bring them in somehow and let them know that the church isn't going to judge them or be preachy at them or other things, that we just are in this together and we need to be together as God's people, just to do all the good we can all the times we can.
Yeah.
So that's what my goal would be. Is I'm not somebody who twists people's arms. I'm not anybody who tells somebody you're sinning and you need to change your ways.
Yeah.
They use that kind of language, and sometimes worse, that I grew up in.
Yeah.
But it's really more of just building relationships with people and hope that they may see something in you that they feel like's missing in their life. And it's not just a pastor. Any layperson could be as effective with that than I could. And so it's just trying to build relationships with people.
That would be a very hard goal to pass to.
Well, in this day and age of people out and about and all over the place, and kids have all these sports things, and again, I love sports, but sometimes we're gone on Sundays because they went for tournaments and other things, and so there's just more things to do, it seems like, in the world than used to be.
Yeah.
And Sundays are one of those days that people end up doing things, and they don't make it to church as much as they once did. And I don't fault them for that, from the standpoint that they ought to get away every once in a while. I take 2 weeks off every year and get out of the pulpit, and for all I know, the people are really happy that I'm going out of the pulpit for a while. So, but it's just, there's a lot of things for people to do, and the church seems to be one of those that they don't do as much because they have all these other things to do.
Yeah. And I think that's it for our interview today.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you for coming.